Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Wednesday, the day after the presidential elections. Remember yesterday I said best case scenario. We know who wins. And you know what? I'll say this. This was actually better than the best case scenario because I didn't think that this was going to happen, which was not only did we know who won, i.e. Donald Trump, but it was how he won. We already knew going in, listen, most of the states probably didn't need to vote. I hate to say it, right? 43 of the states probably didn't need to vote, right? They were going to either be Democrat or Republican. They went exactly how they were supposed to. And then you had the so-called 7 swing states, and I know there's still a couple left. There's still, like Arizona, we're still counting. But it looks like Trump's going to win them all. Right? So he's going to win all the swing states on top of it. And I think what you're seeing today right now, the market, a sigh of relief, right? Saying, oh, okay, right? I mean, there really is, even the staunchest of Democrats, like, yeah, okay, we lost, right? I mean, this was a beatdown in probably every sense of the word, to the point where not even the swing state, they're not even close enough for recount. We don't have to worry about recounts. We don't have to really worry about anything, and I think that's what we're seeing today. We had a great, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, big opportunity on gold and silver today. Take advantage of it, as they're already working their way back, but the Dow's up 1,300 points. That's a really big sigh of relief. Of course, the big news outside of Trump winning, we got a Fed meeting. I'm wondering if today's big move, if this is going to affect the decision tomorrow. I don't think so. The bond market, by the way, yields exploding higher. Almost already got to 4.5 already. We're right within earshot. And I think a lot of that has to do with not only was it decisive. The Republicans got the Senate. That's already decided. That's done. And it looks like now it's still counting to go on, but it looks like they're going to get the House as well. But as Jason will tell you, this is usually how it works. Usually you get 2 years where you get everything you want. You get the president, you get the Senate, you get the House, and everyone's expecting all this great stuff to happen. Unfortunately, usually it doesn't. But the one thing I think the bond market is definitely telling people is Donald Trump at his heart, right? He's a Keynesian type guy, right? I'm going to make everyone feel good. The economy's going to be great. He's a spender. Got to remember, he was a Democrat for a really, really long time. He's a big economy spender, and I think they're anticipating that happening. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. And Jason, I'm going to say this. I'm glad. I truly am glad that not only what do we know the winner, how decisive it was, everyone can just move forward now.
More of the same. Moving forward, more of the same. I don't see much of a difference. Yeah, I know people have their views, but we'll see what happens the next few months. We'll be paying attention. We'll see. Gold and silver's not going to like it until something explodes. So, and then there is definitely an explosive situation headed our way. But now it's just going to be the time frame, Joe. Is it going to be a few weeks, a few months, or is it going to be a stretch out for another year? Because I'll say this, when that budget comes in March and they start spend, it can kind of – Trump does it bigger than anyone, right? So can we blow the bubble up bigger in 2025? Well, if you spend enough, you can get the same thing you had during COVID, which it's kind of interesting to see 1,300 points on the Dow. Those are the kind of moves we saw during COVID, isn't it, Joe?
Right. These big moves. I got to remember the dollar ripping higher here today. Like I'm watching the Japanese yen all the way up over 154 on its way to 155, way above the comfort level. Are we going to see tariffs? Right? I think what we're anticipating here is probably more inflation, definitely more spending. But I think you're going to see, at least the way most people believe, a lot of a lot of small businesses, medium-sized businesses, obviously Wall Street, right? They're going to be in a good mood. That means they're going to be out there spending money. This is probably going to drive inflation back in 2025, and we're seeing that in the bond markets today. And it's going to be interesting, right? I still anticipate we're going to get a 25 basis rate cut tomorrow. We're going to find out tomorrow. The meeting started today. Tomorrow afternoon, they'll tell us what they're going to say. I wonder, though, I do wonder. I think that maybe we may get a rate cut with a Jay Powell saying, "Hey, we got 6 more weeks to decide." He may not necessarily at this meeting telegraph another rate cut just because of what the bond market is doing. This is really, when you think about it, 360 when they first started cutting rates with the 50 basis points. We get 25 basis points on tomorrow, like I expect. Who knows? Could we see a 10-year note at 460 up a whole point? That's something we haven't really seen before. It's going to be interesting. What a crazy year the year of chaos has been. We'll be back. (800-951-0592) Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Wednesday. A quick look in here. The Dow's up 1,340 points. By far the best performer. Now, a lot of that is NVIDIA. They are replacing Intel in the Dow. But still, it was going to be a big up day to begin with. The S&P's up 113 points. The NASDAQ is up 400. The 10-year note, we've been talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. 446. That's a 17 basis point move in a single day. Just take my word for it. That's massive. It's been as high as 448, so it's actually a little bit off the high right now. Crude oil is up. It was down earlier, but there's crude oil. The inventories are not great. That's going to be one of these interesting things. And plus, he got bad news for us in California and Arizona. All the crappy legislation that California has passed, two different refineries. They're just shutting them down. Get ready for higher gas prices in those two states. Gold, like we said, gold's off today, and it's pretty simple trade here. I think it's just, okay, hey, it's just relief. We didn't have any of our worst fears. We don't have to worry about, remember, hanging chads or recounts and all this other stuff, voting machines, and we don't have to worry about it. Right now, the Dow's down 70 points, but it's at one point was down about 95 points, or dollars, I guess, not points, and when they talk about that. And then silver, right now, silver is down $1.20 right now, 31.20, and as I'll say to everybody, buy these dips and buy it hard. Take advantage of the pricing. But we keep talking about how you need to be more diversified. Today is a great day to look at it this way. Because did you want to sell all of your stocks? No. You can take advantage of a day like this. It's a nice day to take advantage. Be more diversified here. This is a huge bubble. I'm going to tell you right now, yes, is it great? The Dow's up 1,300 points. Yes. It's great. It's awesome. You know what's not great? The bond market. It's not great. It's continuing to warn you of what is coming. Be ready for it. You guys out there, you got a lot of money in these IRAs. You need to take some of that money. You just got to. Put it into a gold and silver IRA. Take part of the money. Call our friends over at Y Refi. Why? Well, you're going to get 10.25% fixed rates of return, not correlated to Wall Street. Remember what I told you yesterday that Y Refi, it didn't care about the election. It didn't care that Donald Trump won. Matter of fact, it doesn't care that he won convincingly. They don't care. What about Jay Powell? Do you think they care? No. World War III? How much money is going to be spent? Is inflation coming back? Does not matter. Are we going to have tariffs? They don't care. You got to have a minimum of $50,000. That's the minimum. Like I said, you can use an existing IRA. You got too much money in your bank accounts, whatever it may be. Some of you can even use your 401k. Check them out. InvestYRefi.com. That's the word invest. The letter Y, REFY.com, or just call them at 888-Y-REFI-24, 888-973-3924. So let's talk about where we're looking at. We had that horrible jobs number Friday, right? So I think this is kind of why the Fed's going to be able to cut, because you think about it, only 12,000 jobs created. And that's when they added like 380,000 from the birth death. So they're like, well, we can't prove it, but we think, right? Otherwise, without that, we could have a loss of almost 400,000 jobs. Obviously, that's an interesting thing. But when we look at what's happening when we talk about risk, right? We keep talking about risk. What is the bond market telling us today? Even though Donald Trump won, and he won convincingly, there's more risk now. That's what they said. There's more risk. Look at what the 10-year note has done. Look at what happened to the Japanese currency today. All of a sudden just blew up again. So first, right, we got Japan, right? They're the ones sitting there going, okay, right, we don't have the world's reserve currency. The stronger the dollar gets, the weaker our currency gets. The bigger the risk, the weaker our currency is, right, which creates inflation in Japan. China's got the most to lose, right? They're spending buku dollars. And then Europe, right, there's no winning in Europe, right? There's nowhere for Europe to go. Almost all the major economies of Europe, they're already over the debt limits. They're already breaking their own rules about how much debt they can go into. It's not a great situation. And then, Jason, right, the steeper yield curve. Think about this. This yield curve was inverted for, what was it, like over 3 years, right, Jason? Inverted for over 3 years. Now, what does that mean? That just meant your shorter dated treasuries, yielded more than the longer dated. So remember when we talked about it, so, oh my God, the 10-year note was down to 3.6. Well, guess what? The 2-year note was yielding almost 4%. That was inverted. Look at what's happened in the last 6 weeks. This is the steepest the yield curve has been in over a decade, maybe 2 decades. And it's getting steeper every day. Right now, that 10-year note, like I said, is almost 4.5. Well, the 2-year note's like, 4.2, 4.3, and getting steeper. And then you sit there and you're talking about you now have to start thinking about, God, is it going to break 460? Are we going to 5? Oil supply keeps getting worse. Look at now Donald Trump, right? Remember, he made a big push with the crypto guys. Hey, I'm going to try to, of course, what he said he's going to do, he can't actually do. That's the problem, right? He doesn't get to take the guy out at the SEC, but Bitcoin hit a high today, a new high today. Gold, we know what gold's been doing. I think today is, man, we needed this day so bad. You know, we broke 2,700. We haven't gone back down. We needed a new higher low here. We got it today. Right where it should be, too. Right on the screws, 2,650. That's where we wanted to see. We got it. Obviously, gold is set up here. Everybody understands that, right? Everybody gets it. Because notice how nobody's talking about less inflation, less spending, right? Everyone's just talking about, okay, here we go, right? Donald Trump's going to pump you up. And that's going to be driving the gold price. Now, we're assuming that they get the House, too, because I think they are. They're real close. I think they're going to have the Senate, the House. You know, they try to say, well, that gives you the mandate, right? That allows this administration to spend money. Jason, that's essentially what they're saying. Well, the people are telling Trump to spend money, and I think this is going to be the trap we're going to walk into.
There'll be a whole lot of spending, and, you know, if we'll see what happens next. Next year is going to be really important because I think the economic stress that we've been looking at, Joe, is going to progressively get worse. I've been saying for a while it's like a slow slide. Instead of a big, huge crash, it's been this slow, grinding crash, hasn't it, Joe? It's just slowly getting worse. But with big, huge, you know, COVID wasn't a slow, grinding crash. That was a massive crash with a massive rebound. I don't know if we're going to get the massive crash, but we're going to get a bunch of spending to try to support the old COVID rebound from 2020. And, you know, stay out of his way if he doesn't get what he wants, right, Joe? He's going to, if he wants more money because he needs to pay for X, Y, Z, it's going to happen. And even if let's just say the Democrats for some reason has like a one vote advantage in the House, it's nothing a little bag of money can do to fix the vote when they need it, right? So we got 2 years of this. And then, of course, the Democrats will win back the House and Senate in 2026. It's a broken record, isn't it, Joe?
That tends to be the pattern. We'll see if that plays out because usually that's what happens. Then when you have what I'll say the non-presidential election year, seemingly the other party gets control at least of one chamber, if not both chambers. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, having said all that, when we look at the economy itself, the retailers, and we know, we've known this, we've been talking about this, they cut back their Christmas, and they cut it back pretty hard because they're not anticipating a very good Christmas. Even like Walmart said, hey, we're not going to order as much stuff as we did. And here's the funny thing, is these orders get placed, just so people know. These orders are placed almost a year ahead of time. But then what they do, they're able to cut them back and tell, oh, hey, you know what? Instead of, 1 million stockings, right, we only want 800,000 of them and things of that nature. And that is what is occurring, at least when we look at the consumer there. And then on top of that, you have all of these other things. AAA. Here's a great example. The cost of owning and operating a car. It was really, I was shocked when I saw the number. They said the cost to owning and operating a car is now $12,297 or $1,025 a month. And this is when they're saying, hey, we're factoring in your car payment, we're factoring in the insurance, we're factoring in, obviously you got to put gas and maintain it. It's up $115 from last year. So just your vehicle itself, Jason, was up well over 10%. Now, they just told us last week that inflation was only 2%. But the cost to operate a vehicle, 10% higher. And by the way, they only took it as the car costing you $38,883. That's it. So just understand, this is how expensive things have gotten. And unfortunately, I think we're going to see, Jason, that this lull in inflation was just that, just a lull. And we're probably going to see more things, especially if we come with tariffs, which I think, I don't know. We'll see if that was all talk or if Trump actually means it and sending out the tariffs. And then on other news, remember I said Intel got replaced in the Dow. I did not know how bad it was. But the story breaking today, talking about the government is considering a cash infusion into Intel and saying that Intel is too important to national security, but they reported a $16 billion loss in the last quarter alone. A lot of that on write-downs. But Jason, yeah, here we go again, right? The government needs to come in and spend more money. We'll be back. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour on this Wednesday. And again, I think we're going to get a rate cut tomorrow. We've got, I'll call it the relief rally that, hey, we're not going to have to go weeks or months. People aren't going to, there's not going to be an insurrection here after this election as Trump pretty much had the clean sweep. But, man, do we have great opportunities in the markets today on this pullback. $10 liberties. These are the half ounce, 1866 to 1907. Why do we like old gold? It's only really a couple reasons. Number one, it's the most private way to own gold. What does that mean? It's the only gold you can buy, sell, trade. You can do whatever you want with it. And you don't have to worry about being 1099. Kind of cool, right? You're on your honor. The other thing is, in the United States, it's the only gold considered to be collectible. Everything else, and I mean everything, is considered bullion. Matter of fact, if you come into my office in Phoenix, I've got this big framed picture of all this gold that you can put into your IRAs, which I'm telling you, hey, get a gold and silver IRA. It's the second best way. The only type of gold you can't put in there, pre-1933 U.S. gold. Why is that? Why? Why, though? That's kind of odd, right? I mean, heck, our own government minted it. Well, see, there's something a lot of people don't realize. In 1933, when they took the gold from the citizenry, they said, hey, by the way, those of you that have collectible gold coins, you can keep those. But you got to turn in everything else. That was the law. That was how they wrote. Well, it was law. It was an executive order. Fast forward to today. What is everybody talking about today? Everybody's talking about whether it's going to, are the BRICS going to back their debt with gold? How about Judy Shelton earlier this week? Hey, if this is going to happen, and I think it is, the U.S. better be first, right? We better be the first to back our treasuries with gold. We can't let someone else beat us to the punch. Listen, I don't know if that means they'd want all the bullion back. I don't know. Right? I mean, look how much debt we have. We're at $36 trillion. Right? By the time Donald Trump gets inaugurated, it will be $37 trillion. And I'm only hoping that it's not $40 trillion by this time next year. Rates keep going higher, it will be. And that's without more spending. So I think it's important that hey, you know what? I don't know that it's going to happen. Not going. If you would have said to me 20 years ago, is this going to happen? I'm like, God, come on, it's not going to happen. Right? The debt was like $4 trillion. Gold was like, I don't know, not even $300. It's a different story today. That's why we like it the best. That's all. And by the way, you can't buy a half-ounce gold eagle for this price. $1,450 on $10 gold. Just think about this. Yesterday, you couldn't buy two $10 gold pieces for less than $3,000. Couldn't do it. Heck, you're approaching $3,100. Today, you can buy one at $1,450, two $2,900. I mean, Jason, it's a great opportunity to be getting fractional gold at the thing. Well, let me look. I can tell you, I got the sheet here somewhere. Yeah, $1,525 yesterday. $1,450 today. That's like gold falling $150. It's only down 70. Take advantage of it. $10 liberties, $1,450 at 800-951-0592. By the way, silver, man, it's a buy. It's an all-out buy. U.S. Silver Eagle rolls, $775. Right, they were over $800 yesterday. Half dollars at $260. Rolls of quarters at $250. Rolls of dimes $125. Heck, those 5-ounce silver bars, they were $180 on sale. They're now $175. 800-951-0592. And according to people inside of the Commerce Department, Jason, Intel is so important to counterweight China that the United States government is trying to figure out a way to either to get them to merge with a U.S. company or somehow figure out a way to give them money as the losses are piling up. By the way, it's the only U.S. company that designs and makes its chips. Like NVIDIA, they don't make any chips. All they do is design. And then they farm it out to Korea, to Taiwan, China, wherever it is. Intel, the only one that designs and actually manufactures chips, and they do it here. Matter of fact, got a huge place here in Arizona. So, Jason, right now, one option has been AMD has been floated as a possible merger, and the U.S. government just saying that they are aware. They have never forced a merger between two companies, but they did say it's not out of the realm of possibility, as suggested by sources, that the government would encourage a private-led merger of Intel and AMD. But we'll see. I haven't heard of any of this. This is kind of breaking out today. The chip wars continue. And I'll just say this really quickly. Apparently, all of the sanctions and all that stuff that we've been doing, because we don't want China to have the most advanced chips, Huawei yesterday said that the most powerful Mate in history will be out in November, and people are worried now that they may have figured out how to produce the latest and greatest of the chips. We'll have to wait till November, but Huawei made the announcement yesterday that the most powerful chip yet is going to be out on their stuff in November. So There you have it. Patriot Radio News Hour will be back after the break. 800-951-0592. I know it can't be all good news. Can't be all good news with the Trump win. Mortgage delinquencies, by the way, up for the fourth straight month in a row. It's not bad. I mean, obviously we don't like, okay, it's getting a little worse. I mean, it's still a manageable situation. The one big thing, serious delinquencies, that means you're over 90 days. So what's that? Wait, you haven't paid in 3 going on 4 months of no payments, was up 6%. Well, okay, that was like 5.9%. Sorry, 5.9% in just 1 month. So it is a growing problem. 60-day delinquencies rose as well. Single-month delinquencies up by 42,000. And again, I don't want to overstate it. Right, but it's starting to become a trend now, right? 4 straight months in a row, it's started to become a trend. This slow grind, and I don't know. Even Donald Trump probably can't save that, but it's points of interest. I think the big takeaway here, without a shadow of a doubt, is everybody, I think, agrees, Jason. There's going to be a lot more spending coming. A big, I'll call it the sigh of relief day. Because I don't know how many people, Jason, he's been Trump since Trump said he was running. Right? I mean, Trump won the nomination. Jason, Trump's going to win. And Jason actually said, you said yesterday, we're going to know today. Right? And you were right. I don't even know, though, if you thought it was going to be as decisive as it was, right? All of the swing states going Trump's way. But I think it's a sigh of relief that, why is gold and silver selling off today? Yeah, some of it because the bonds spiking higher. But most of it just because, okay, we're not going to have, political theater. So, because let's face it, the paper guys hold gold for different reasons, right? They're holding it short term just in case there's a problem or things like this. Like if we didn't know who won today, we could be talking gold at an all-time high today. It just depended on how this thing worked out, and it probably worked out the best way possible.
I think there's a little bit of Kool-Aid drinking as well. It won't last very long. Trump says he's going to fix the economy. There's going to be a lot of Kool-Aid drinkers. Well, what do I need the rocks for? Why do I need the yellow and the silver metals? I'll throw some down the drain. I'll throw it right into this market. But here's the thing: the euphoria of your team winning only lasts so long, and then the daily grind. Then you go back to work, right, Joe? Yeah, we're gonna be looking at Thanksgiving. People have Christmas, and then January 6th. As long as there's no conspiracy, he'll be inaugurated on January 21, and then it's going to be it's back to the grind, right? There's a little bit of a break here, back to the grind, and then people are going to be like, oh, wait a minute. Economically, this doesn't look too good. He's going to spend how much money? And why did I sell my gold back in November? Uh-oh. Turn this thing around. There's a lot more inflation coming. Nothing that any president, any Congress, the Supreme Court, none of them. They're not going to be able to stop the inflation. It's built in. It's built in, right, Joe? That the spending and the interest on the debt, it's all built in. It's right there. This is why gold has gone up every, as you look at the curve, it just keeps going up. Well, it just goes up with the inflation. And spend, baby, spend, right, Joe? It's coming to me. Maybe we'll get maybe gold will actually go sideways for a little while because the big spending is.
That'd be nice. I don't know that I see that, but that would be really nice. Some consolidation here. But right now, $10 liberties, $75 less. That's like gold falling $150 today. $1,450 at 800 9510592. I'll just tell you right now, don't let today go by without adding some silver. Buy some 10 libs for sure, if you can afford that. But whether it's a 5-ounce silver bar at $175, a roll of dimes at $1.25 at $125, rolls of silver eagles, $775. Case of silver eagles, $1,000 less today. $19,250 at 800-951-0592. And again, it's really about the bond market now. So right now, okay, 447. So we're almost at the highs of the day. The 10-year note moving 18 basis points, which, just take my word for it, absolutely a massive move to the upside. Here's the good news, right? The Treasury had to reload the checkbook. I think we'll have some good auctions for the last couple of days, because this is essentially the rates are up like 20 basis points. And I think the bond market, okay, well, good. I'll take that. I'll take that today. I'll take that today. The problem is, will they take that next month? Will they take it the month after that? The month after that? Will they take it as Donald Trump starts announcing? You got to remember, here's some of the things he talked about. No taxing of tips, right? No taxing of overtime, and all of these are just the ones I can think of off the top of my head, right? All of these things. No taxing of Social Security payments or benefits. There's another $500 billion added to the debt. Yeah, they're going to want, hey, remember what it's all about. If I'm going to take a risk, I better get a reward. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason. Final segment when we get back. 800-951-0592. And you got to remember now, this is where I think the market's at. Because it appears that the Republicans are going to get the House as well. By the way, Harris is going to give her concession speech. Looks like 6 o'clock Eastern. So that makes it, I guess, official. Took
a long time.
Yeah.
Took a long time.
You know, she got tired last night, and
even Hillary at least called Trump. Even after she threw stuff and screamed and made a mess of the room she was in, at least she still called Trump, and then Trump went out there. Very similar to the 2016 election, but it's interesting how she has to pout for a full day before she calls in.
Yeah, but nonetheless, it looks like they're going to have the presidency, right, the Senate, and the House. So what the bond market is sensing, you remember now, so, believe what you want to. Oh, my gosh, it's going to add another $7 trillion on the debt, right? All the stuff that Trump, he's not going to get all of it. But he's going to get a lot more than I think what people thought. I think everyone kind of believed no matter who won, they weren't going to get both chambers, right? They weren't going to get the Senate and the House, right? If Kamala won, right, the Republicans were going to have at least the Senate, right? No. This is going to open up the opportunity for a lot more spending. And remember, without a big stock market rally, and it's going to be hard to do. This rally this year was a great stock market this year. I mean, gold and silver were better, but it's been a great rally. We can definitely, when I sit there and I talk about $40 trillion, this bond market looks like yields want to go even higher. I'll just say this right now. If we break above 4.6, I think we're going to 5. And here's the problem. When you get to 5, you break 5. How much higher can it go from there? Be prepared here. I'm just telling you, Be prepared. Have that gold, have that silver put away. Be diversified here. 800-951-0592. $10 liberties. It's just an outright buy. $1,450. And I'll be honest with you, anything silver, from Silver Eagles to rolls of dimes to 5-ounce silver bars, get it put away, Jason. 800-951-0592. So, again, I think we're going to get a rate cut. We'll see what the talk is about another rate cut. You're going to see Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump's no Joe Biden. He's going to put a lot of pressure on Jay Powell. He is going to want lower rates. There's no doubt in my mind. And plus, he's going to start what? You're going to hear Trump talking about America's great again. Money's coming again. I think there's a lot of fuel for the fire when we talk about where we're headed for next year, Jason.
Yeah, he's a big borrow and spend president. He probably after his victory speech, he probably called the Fed and said, "Okay, time to lower the rates." I'm sure he would. It's time to borrow, baby, borrow. I mean, I'll say that gold is usually a leading indicator of inflation, and no matter what gold does in the next weeks or a month or so, which I think it can go up, like Joe said, I think it can go sideways, but it's not going to matter. It pulled back $70 a day. Look at what it's done all year. It's way ahead. You watch when they start putting the spending plan together in January and February next year. You watch gold start to take off. Once again, you have it. It's high, Joe, but is it really high if we look to Christmas of next year? What's it going to be, $4,000, $5,000 next year?
800-951-0592.